Hey there! So it's been a few years since I did one of these personality tests, but it'll be relevant to today's video, so I figure I might as well do one right now. We're going to use this one from 16personalities.com. It uses the Myers-Briggs theory, which has become the standard for identifying personality traits, and it comes up first on Google, and we have to trust them. So just give me 1 second to get through this. Okay, if you know me, or if you've seen any of my other videos, then this won't be a surprise to you, but I am indeed an introvert. Now, if introverts are known for not talking much, why would an introvert want to have a YouTube channel? Well, let me explain what I think. You all know that person. The one who seems mentally preoccupied whenever they're doing something, the one who is usually pretty quiet in social settings, the one who always has a resting bitch face. And if you don't know that person, well, I have news for you. Introvert is usually defined as someone who is shy, but that must have been written by an extrovert because that completely misses the mark. I prefer looking at the Latin origins and the initial use of the word in the 17th century. Turn one's thoughts inwards in spiritual contemplation. While it might seem that introverts are always distracted or afraid of engaging in conversation, the reality is that while everyone else is letting loose and talking their hearts out, introverts are constantly observing and processing the world around them. They try to learn, to understand, and to make interpretations about people and about life. And from the outside, they may appear to be shy and uncomfortable, but that's because they spend so much of their energy making these observations, and they don't want to waste any on conversations or social activity. But that doesn't mean that this energy is lost or doesn't go anywhere. When something is incredibly meaningful to an introvert, they still want to express it, but just probably in different ways than an extrovert would. So instead of telling a whole group of friends a story about something that just happened to them, introverts would prefer to have a long, deep, detailed conversation with one close friend or family member about something that stimulates their mind. It's easy to spot how an extrovert expresses themselves. They'll let you know how they feel, and they're more likely to act in a play and be at the center of attention. But an introvert doesn't want to be in the spotlight, and they just can't get themselves to do things in the same way, so they need to find other avenues to express their emotions and creativity. It should be no surprise then that introverts tend to excel at artistic things like writing, music, photography, drawing. Well, maybe not drawing. Every picture, every sound, every stroke of a pencil has its own mood or feeling, and introverts are able to better evoke the emotions that they are experiencing through imagery like this rather than through words. However, many great authors were introverts, and introverts can often be better at expressing themselves through the written word because they have more time to think and to refine their ideas when they're writing, rather than be forced to speak with a stream of consciousness. Introverts might also find themselves feeling a sense of expression when they use social media. And this is not necessarily about sharing things on social media, but using it and observing it in the same way that they would observe people out in public or in a social situation. And they might find comfort in taking in content like YouTube videos that explore topics that they care about rather than just watch things for mindless entertainment. But it is also evident that introverts do find some sort of comfort in expressing themselves and sharing their thoughts online rather than speaking them in person. And you see more and more websites and Instagram pages that are dedicated to introverts and sharing their experiences. Now you might know an introvert that actually seems to talk a lot to you, or you might be that introvert that doesn't shut up about something that they like. But you only say these things to people that you really know well and that you're comfortable with, rather than going up to a stranger at an event or a party and making small talk. So it's not that you don't like to talk, but you want to spend your energy on conversations that are actually meaningful. And it takes a while to open up and to find someone that actually clicks with you, but once you do, it feels like you can finally release this burden of all these things that you wanted to say. And this isn't to say that extroverts don't have anything worthwhile to say or that their thoughts and observations carry less substance. But introverts are looked at as the quiet ones and get disregarded when in actuality they probably have a lot to say, and they have a lot of things that spark their curiosity that they end up feeling overwhelmed and they struggle to find the right avenue to express themselves. But when you're constantly making observations and overthinking things, you probably have a lot to talk about, even if it doesn't end up being expressed verbally. So I didn't actually need to take a personality test to confirm that I'm an introvert, because these are things that we are born with rather than develop over time. although I do think that some of the subgroups of personality traits can evolve along with you. But since I was young, I always felt alone. I felt like I was living in a different world than everyone else, and it felt like whenever I had something to say, that it wouldn't be received well and people wouldn't care. But I'm constantly trying to learn and to improve, and to understand why the world works the way it does and why people act the way that they do. And years of thinking like this has built up all these ideas and topics in my head that I feel are so important to introverts and extroverts alike, but are so rarely talked about. So this is my way of expressing these thoughts. It's essential to embrace who you are. If you're an extrovert, well, kudos to you. And I'm genuinely quite jealous because I often wish I didn't overanalyze things the way I tend to do. And I wish I could just let loose and be more social instead of living life stuck in my head. But that takes so much energy for me, and the last thing that I want to do is force a personality and come off as disingenuous to others. It's okay to accept the way that you interact with the world and with other people. And if you do that a little differently than others, that is completely healthy, and you shouldn't feel like you're living life the wrong way because you prefer to be alone or to keep a lot of your thoughts to yourself. If we want to become the best version of ourselves, we have to understand that we can't really change the way that we've been wired since birth, but what we can do is dive deep into it and make ourselves shine because of it. So try to find ways to love yourself for the way that you are, and to express your observations in the ways that feel most natural to you. Hopefully this didn't come off as anti-extrovert. That definitely wasn't my intention. And don't worry, I can't outtalk you, and I wouldn't be able to get through more than a few sentences of this video if I didn't write it out beforehand. But regardless of whether you are an introvert or an extrovert, I encourage you to accept your true self and to make the best of it. Remember that you're not wrong for experiencing life in the way that you do. And even when you feel alone, or if you feel like nobody is listening and nobody cares, I promise that the world always hears you. And living authentically and expressing yourself in your own way will lead you to the right people and lead you down the path that's meant for you.